Well, well, well. Would you look at that? Juice Pro Wrestling has merch. Support the show by going to prowrestlingtees.com/JPWtees and get yourself a shirt. Enjoy the show.
You so freaking bad. Wrestle me.
Welcome everybody to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 182, The Curtain Call with Jason, Cosmides, and Mani Mohtadi. That's right, you guys heard it right. You heard me correct. Two fans who are a part of WWE history. Before the Young Bucks tried to do it, these guys were trying to kill the business. Haha, pun intended on that. Hey, Manny, Jason, thank you guys for coming on the show to discuss this great moment in WWE history with all of the faithful of the JP Woo. First and foremost, how the hell are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great. I mean, we're doing these podcasts, it's like, it's a great thing to do because, this happened 26 years ago. And why are we here? Obviously, it must have been something important. With these podcasts that are out now and, and all that, we used to do this stuff. It was back then, it was news lines, it was hotlines and stuff like that. So you guys are, going with the times, and this is great. This is great.
Thank you. I only wish Mean Gene was around to do it with us.
Right.
Speaking of Mean Gene, did you guys ever call Mean Gene's hotline back in the day?
I think we did.
Yeah, we did. I actually had access to it illegally, obviously, like I usually get. I got around to it, so I was able to get the code to, as like the employees get. So I was able to call that hotline and the WCW hotline, whatever, back in the day. I forgot which ones.
Yeah, who was that guy? What was his name? Scott something? Glasses, mustache, dark hair. Damn, I can't think
something
of
like that. No, I
can't think of his name, but he had the hotline. I would have had my ass spanked red if I would have called that shit. It's like, $1.99 a minute. Kids, get your parents' permission before you piss them off.
$18 any additional minute.
I called that hotline. And I also called the Fresh Prince hotline.
We know what hotline.
Will Smith hotline, and ran up like a massive phone bill and got my ass beat.
Oh man!
Yeah,
Did you get shipped?
I never called
your
again.
auntie and uncle to Bel Air.
Yep.
I knew it.
Yep.
I
was writing to Uncle Phil asking for $20.
You were like, Uncle Phil, what was it like to voice the Shredder? Anyways, there's two moments in my mind, maybe in a lot of other people's minds too, that kind of exposed the business. The first one being Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik's drunken coke drive escapade. And then, of course, the infamous curtain call with you two being the only ones who had footage of this moment. This is a WWE house show, if I'm not mistaken, right? Madison Square Garden, May 19th of 1996.
Correct, yeah.
It blows my mind. And I want to know, like, that day, where were your guys' mindset and everything? Because obviously, you guys are just like us, huge fans of the sport, going to shows. Back then it's the 90s, so you got a camcorder, you're sneaking that shit in. Now, did you guys know anything beforehand of what was going to happen? Obviously, we mentioned hotlines and all that good stuff. Was there anything that you guys were aware of beforehand that might happen, and that's why you wanted to bring the camcorder, or you just brought it for your own personal pleasures anyway?
Well, actually, we knew that they were leaving like months before, because I also had a wrestling hotline, and then I used to call all the other wrestling hotlines. And even though Scott Hall said he gave his 90-day notice, but in January, Howard Finkel had his own hotline himself, that he would just give out results that happened at house shows or upcoming events that were coming around in the area. So I would call that every day. It was a normal fan wouldn't want to call. It would be a boring phone call to make. It's like, oh, WWF is going here, WWF is going there. And then one day he just blurted that out that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were leaving using their real names. I was like, wait a second. They just used their real names. Not many people knew it at the time because they never used that.
Right.
And it was like, oh, wow, what's going on? I called it back again to make sure that I told Jason. So we knew like months and months before Scott gave his notice. So we knew what was going on, but as we weren't just lucky to be there because we just had a camera for that one night. We used to tape shows all the time. 95, 96, Jason would always bring his camera and we would just shoot in the New York area. And we just happened to get lucky that night, that moment.
How was the attendance that night at the Garden?
It was actually, the gate sold very well and it was a sold out crowd. And it's the first time they sold out in quite a while from what I remember.
And that was, I mean, dude, so we're talking obviously, you know, pre-NWO, WCW at that time. I think had Hogan signed? Yeah, he was already signed with WCW. And I remember as a kid just watching and going back and forth. And at that time, WWE was kind of, you know, they had guys like Kevin and Scott and Brett and Sean and, you know,
Warrior was there too around that time.
Yeah. Who were going to be the next generation of stars they were trying to build because they had lost so many top tier talents to Turner. But I remember those times and like in the business, and it's such a great thing. And I look back on it fondly because, you know, we never knew how big all this stuff was going to end up being. But when they turned up in WCW, you know, like how, even with you guys in the know, I mean, what was that moment like for you still? Because I remember watching as a hardcore fan who was, you know, I was tuning in to the ECWs, WCWs, and the WWF. Sorry, guys, I got to get the E out of here. At the time, and it was just amazing to me to see Scott first walk down and come on, get in the ring and like, you know, cut the infamous promo. What was that like for you guys? And you guys kind of being in the know.
Yeah,
Listen, God.
Yeah, thanks. I was gonna say, even though we knew that they were leaving, as a fan and as a true fan, I just didn't want to see it happen, you know, because I felt after, like you mentioned, after Hogan left, Savage, a few of the others, the new generation, those were the guys that they built up, they built around,
right?
You know, and here they are at a main event status, main event level, and they're leaving. So I was kind of bummed out. I didn't want to believe it, even though the word was out there, and we kind of saw it, how they started to phase them out, you know, have them lose matches. And I believe Razor's last pay-per-view, he lost to, or Scott Hall's last pay-per-view, he lost to, I think it was Goldust, you know, and so you knew it was headed in that direction. But seeing them on WCW was like, oh, this is bad. This is, you know, this is not good for WWE, because you also have to consider at that time too, Brett was gone, he was on hiatus. Warrior was in that limbo stage until then they told, you know, he left. So it was kind of like another period where it was like going downhill. You know, I mean, Austin won King of the Ring, but he wasn't quite at that level yet, you know.
Right.
He was getting there, but he wasn't quite, you know, people weren't filling the seats for him yet. You know, so like you said, I'm sorry, you're saying attendance was packed that night, but then it went down after.
Oh yeah. And it was a weird moment. Like if you were a WWE fan back in the day, you know, we rode high and rocked hard, you know, from the 80s into the early 90s till about maybe WrestleMania 9. And I was fortunate enough to be at Mania 8 when they were at the Hoosier Dome.
Nice.
And that was, to me, it was like, it's one of those overlooked WrestleManias, but it's like I want to say one of the last great ones from that time period with that roster, you know. I mean, it was a who's who of people that were on that show. I got to see
Right.
Brett wrestle Roddy Piper for the IC belt, you know, the Macho Man go against Ric Flair and win the belt in that gold attire, which is super killer.
Right.
Hogan and Sid. It was just it was a weird time for them though after that, because they had some of these stars, like you said, that were built up, but they went down a peg, man, totally. And then once the NWO started to come into like fruition and WCW gathered all this momentum, it was like, I was never one of those kids back in the day that's like, I didn't want to see anybody go out of business. You know, like nowadays,
Right.
It just seems like a lot of fans are so fickle and, you know, well, we hope AEW puts WWE out or vice versa or whatever, which is just fucking silly, because then you're saying these men and women have no place to work. Then what are you going to do? What are you going to complain about then? You know? It was just a weird time period. Who obviously these guys, you know, the Kliq were some of your favorite wrestlers, I take it, in WWE then. I'd like to know who were some of your other favorite guys
Around that time.
around that time period. Yeah.
Around that time,
Because it was
those
thin.
guys were, and then it really was. I mean, they brought Jake Roberts back, so I was happy to see that, but it wasn't the Jake Roberts of before. I was happy to see Warrior back, but then again, it was a different Warrior.
Right.
So at the time, it was just those guys, basically, you know, and, you know, I obviously like the guys in WCW and ECW. I was gravitating more towards the ECW at the time, you know, when the cartoonish stuff was happening. But 96, 97, it started to get back on track with WWE, so which was nice, you know.
What about you, Jason?
You know, in that 96 era too, like when Nash and Hall left and all those guys, you got to see who the talent was. You had Ahmed Johnson, Gold Dust, you had the Godwins, and they were still in that weird period where they were still doing weird gimmicks like Duke the Dumpster Drozy and the Goon and, you know, like that. So, but yeah, those were the stars that they had at the time. You know, the Godwins, Ahmed Johnson, Gold Dust. I think Taker and Mankind started their feud around that time too. And that was like the biggest thing they had was Taker Mankind at that time. And this is, you know, Triple H's, well, we know what happened to him, how he went through the hazing period because of that infamous curtain call. But then, you know, like you said, Jake the Snake came back, but it was not the old Jake the Snake we remember. So
He was thumping
Vader,
the
I think.
Bible.
Yeah,
I couldn't take Jake doing that.
I think Vader was there at that time too, during that 96 period.
Yeah, it was weird because I almost didn't want to accept it, but it was very easy to turn the channel to something, you know, like I said, to ECW or to WCW, which was, and I'd watched WCW before all those signings. I remember when they signed Hogan, and I was just like, well, at the time as a young kid, I mean, I'm pretty sure we were all at some point a Hulkamaniac, you know, and you're just like blown away by like, oh my God. It's like all of a sudden Mickey Mouse goes to a different brand or something, you know, it's just something you don't expect to see. And from there on out, I mean, you know, we all enjoyed that wild ride. But Bodie, like you were saying, we all know like Triple H was hazed and or punished because of this. So you guys, you filmed this moment, right? I think that night, what was it? Sean and Razor were working face, right? And
yes, there were faces for that night. Yep.
And then you had Nash and Triple H were the heels. And this was still a time, and it's so weird to think about now, like kids growing up and not knowing really what kayfabe is anymore, you know, because it's been dead for so long. But
Sure
that specific moment in time, and I'll never forget that. I remember hearing about that stuff too. Good guys, bad guys coming together in the ring because they're boys in real life, and just like, hey man, we don't want to see you guys go, but you know, this you're gone, hugging it out, showing their love and respect for each other in the ring. And maybe kind of, you know, Sean was kind of an asshole back then. Maybe that was kind of a whatever to Vince, in my opinion, because I don't know, maybe in his mind, he's like, hey, how could you let these dudes go? That just a really weird situation. And so for you guys to be filming it then, and you're probably just filming, and as take us through some of the emotions you guys had as this is like unfolding.
It was a crazy night because we didn't even know, obviously, the curtain call was going to happen. That whole night was a magical moment because it had a pay-per-view feel to it, even though it was a house show. Yes, it was at the Garden, but you got to realize the tag team titles changed. You had a returning Ultimate Warrior to Madison Square Garden. You had Jake the Snake Roberts versus then upcoming Stone Cold Steve Austin as the ringmaster, and that was the night that Owen Hart broke his arm from the Ultimate Warrior. That's why he would always show up at a cast on Monday Night Raw. It was from that night. So there was something brewing in that night. And, it was the night that, Razor was leaving, Diesel was leaving last night. And then you got a monstrous cage match for a main event. And that's a draw right away for the Garden. And the emotions were all real. There was nothing about that night. And what you see in the videos, and you hear our voices, and you hear Jay screaming and shaking the camera, and you hear me crying like a little girl screaming. That was all real. That was real emotion. It was the real deal.
What about you, Jason? Go ahead, Manny.
I was going to say, especially when Hunter came out, because our minds were blown, because you can't really process that, especially, how are you guys even friends, or how'd this happen?
The era of kayfabe. I miss it.
I mean, you guys know that Razor, Diesel, and Sean are friends. Okay, fine. And then just out of nowhere, some random guy that you had no idea hung out backstage with them, Boom. Mind blown.
Yeah, I would say exactly what Manny said. It was kind of just at that point, at that match, what we saw was kind of shocked. That was the best word. Like, what's happening here? This is nothing like we've seen before. Back then, it was always wrestling to us was black and white. There was really no gray area, and that was the grayest area you can get. I mean, they were just, embracing breaking character. But prior to that, like Manny said, the card was a pay-per-view feel all the way. I mean, a Sunday night. It was actually kind of. I mean, we were still in high school, so on a Sunday night going into New York City on a school night, that was tough because thankfully our parents let us go. I mean finals were coming up, I believe, because it was the end of the year, but yeah, the highlight was at that start of or in the progress of the show was we saw the tag team's titles change. We noticed there were cameras around ringside too. So I knew something may have been brewing because Raw was live the next day. Remember, Raw wasn't always live. At that point, it was live every few weeks.
Right.
But being that it was live, you kind of said, all right, maybe something might happen here. There's cameras there. Sometimes they would film just to kind of promote upcoming live events. They would say, oh, this is what happened last time at the Garden. What's going to happen next time, whatever. And then the return of the Warrior. So it was, from top to bottom. I mean, it was just a good card. And then, like Manny said, anytime there's a cage match at the Garden, it's usually really good, especially the old style cage. Old style meaning the blue
one. I love the blue one.
Yeah,
the best.
So you guys were high school kids. Was that the first house show you went to? Or was that the first show? Like how? I have a reason for asking. How many shows had you gone to, house show and otherwise, before this happened?
Many. We actually went to quite a few. I mean, I started going in '88, but when I met Jason in '94, we started going in '95, and right off the bat, we clicked because, no pun intended, because we both love wrestling. And you know what? We started recording the shows right away because Jason's passion was recording the bootlegs of the house shows, and my passion was recording everything else in case something else happened on TV. So we had both sides covered. So basically, I think 95 we started recording all the house shows, and that night for May 19th almost didn't happen at the end. He almost never recorded that part because I would always tell him, oh, why would you even record these house shows? Nothing ever happens. It's the same results every night. I used to just belittle him and talk down to him. And it's like, why you even bother? There's nothing. It's the same results every night. What are you doing?
You
Yeah,
stupid idiot.
I know the feeling. Justin is
Yes.
a huge
Trent,
ass.
shut up.
I would tell him, you know what, whatever, do what you want. And I was the idiot that night. It's like I should have kept my mouth shut because none of this would have happened. And on top of that night I was already yelling at him because he didn't get the "You Sold Out" chat with Razor after the Razor and Hunter match. He cut that off. I'm like, you missed the best moment of the night. You got the tag team title change, but you don't get the "You Sold Out" chant that we all started. I need to save tape. I need to say whatever. Boom. But Jason was actually thinking and I wasn't. So
The
goes to
reason-
show what happened.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because I found it hard to believe that this moment, which was captured, and I know it was like it wasn't supposed to happen like that. They weren't supposed to hug, but with all the stuff you taped, I think it's crazy that there weren't more kayfabe breaking moments in all these different shows, because these wrestlers do stuff, they stop taping. If they even tape anything, if you know you're not live, then you have a whole stadium full of people that have to keep your secret if some shit happens.
Right.
And
You got to remember.
yeah, that's it. I just think it's crazy that was like one thing, and now it was one big thing that didn't happen like that before. But it's got to be other examples, and it's crazy that there isn't.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's good. That's a great point you brought up, because for that night there was, as far as pictures go, there's only 2 or 3 that exist as far as pictures, and then it's our video.
That's why,
Yeah.
dude, shout out real quick to our homie out in Italy, Bud Light here. Follow him on Instagram. I got for the promo picture for this episode. I had him. I was like, hey man, do you have? He poses up, like recreates wrestling scenes throughout history through the action figures. I was like, dude, do you have one of the curtain call? And he's like, yeah, I got a couple. I was like, can I use one? And we've utilized him for various other episodes. He's like, yeah, dude, anything to help out. And he tossed me that, and I was like, dude, this is the best, because you go online and, like you said, there's only 2 pictures, and they're real, like, they're not good, by today's standards. They're like kind of grainy. So when you go to like edit and do stuff to them, like I do everything on my phone, so it's kind of hard to get it to look exactly, to look great. And I was like, man, just send me the figures. I figured it'd be cool enough.
And there were no cell phones back then,
No.
Yeah. But the pictures are actually better quality than our video. Well, from what they show you, it's actually degraded quite a bit. I mean, I
back
have the
then
original,
too.
so
How strict was it with because I know a lot of, there's a lot of artists and stuff. Like, I'm a big Danzig fan, and I know he hates anybody that, takes pictures or video. I remember a couple of years ago I did at Riot Fest, and I posted a video on YouTube, and I got flagged for it. And I'm like, what the fuck? How hard was it to get, your camcorder in there? And were they really strict about checking you guys for shit like that?
not at all. I mean, it was actually
you have to jock it.
It was actually Jason's camcorder with his bag, his 2 batteries, his 2 super VHS tapes, because he had everything prepared. We never went to these shows and said to each other, oh, make sure you hide it. Make sure you do this, put this here, put that. We never did any kind of strategy to get into these buildings. What we did, we just made sure, hey, do we have our tapes? Is your battery charged? Let's go. So when we would go in, Madison Square Garden, Nassau Coliseum, those were the 2 events that we would always record for 2 years. We go in. If the security would stop us, Jason would just say, they would ask us, oh, what's in the bag? He would just say, oh, it's just a camera. And then they wouldn't think, oh, he's bringing a video camera to record a stupid house show.
Right.
And they would just let him through. Most of the time, we would just walk through. It was never any smuggling, never any sneaking in at any time. We never worried about that, because that was never our intentions. Our intentions were just go in and do what we do as a hobby and record the shows. So we never smuggled anything in, as what people believe.
Yeah, and the camera back then was it was a handy cam. It was a VHS-C tape, which is a smaller version of
tapes.
So it was the camera was relatively small, relatively light. It was not this big VHS camera that Manny's dad used to use shooting weddings. those beasts, that you're just sitting on top of your shoulder. And yeah, it wasn't like that. It was no way we would have been able to do what we did. But a little backstory here. I know Manny was mentioning how he said, why am I recording the shows? Because at the time, they had a lot of tours. What was it? Make-A-Wish tour. I can't think of the names. There was like a Halloween one, a Heart Attack tour, Summer Sizzler tour. All these.
Yeah.
And usually the matches would be relatively the same in different cities. Maybe they would just tweak it a little bit, but that's that weren't really like anything big was really happening. And before I started, what got me into doing it was I purchased a couple of the bootlegs through dirt sheet catalogs and such and all this. And I just remember I'm looking at the matches like, oh wow, this looks a really good show. The matches and everything. I was like, wow. Then I'd get the tapes and then the quality would just be shit. I mean, it really would.
The drizzling shit.
It just would be so the generation loss from tape traders. I mean, it was just like, I can't believe I paid $20 to get this poor quality. I could do a better job than this.
I used to do that with death metal videos, old school bands I liked. I get this same thing, paid $20-$25. Like, oh, Cryptopsy in Montreal, 94. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope. Oh, what is this shit?
Yeah, you're like you're expecting to see something you would see like on TV, like a real quality type of production, and it's just some guy holding a camcorder, and it's just you see a bunch of people, it's out of focus, and it's just the quality is so poor, the sound
shot of his nachos.
Yeah, and so I just said, I was like, man, I think I could probably do this, and I was able to do it. And like Manny said, we just did it as a hobby. It was just something, hey, let's go to the show and we'll record it. And, whatever our commentary is, laugh or boo, at least we can watch it later and kind of laugh about it. It was just for our entertainment.
Right. And a memory, a keepsake, Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we all like that. And a lot of people nowadays, that go to concerts and wrestling shows, you kind of want to take a piece of it home with you,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so, Kodak moment,
right? Fast forward all these years later. No, well, before I get to that, after you guys recorded this and that all happened, I mean, did you guys was it just you two as like the wrestling kids in your school? Did you have like a group of friends that you're like, oh shit, you guys got to check this out?
Well,
Here's
me and Manny, go ahead. Yeah,
me and Manny were. Me and Jason were. It was just us. Basically, it's just me and Jason, and then there was a few others that would kind of like it, that they would go to the shows. But the reason why me and Jason met was because I was wearing like a Bret Hart shirt or a Shawn Michaels shirt or a Razor Ramon shirt. Back then, it wasn't cool to do that in high school. You were considered the loser, especially a loser wearing a half-naked guy shirt and going in. What are the girls going to think, But then again, when you have a love for wrestling, I didn't even care. I was like, what? I just want to meet other losers like me. And that's how I met Jason. And from there, boom. All the other people that would like wrestling back then, they were all in the closet. They wouldn't admit it until about a year or two later, when wrestling was
Austin NWO.
Now it's considered cool.
Yep.
Now I like it. Now I like it. But then again, where were you 2 years ago when you were knocking the product? When even though the business was not that great at the time, it was my life. So it's like I never really became friends with those kind of people. I knew who my real friends were at the time, who stuck with wrestling from the beginning.
Right. Now, fast forward all these years later, because I find it weird. I mean, WWE, I know they tape some house shows. Obviously, I mean, I never saw WWE. They didn't have the footage of this. So fast forward all these years later, how the hell did they come in contact with you guys? And what was that first initial meeting and or contact or phone call like?
I would leave Jason to answer that, but I would like to say for many, many years, I tried to stay away from the tape and the curtain call. I didn't want anybody to know I taped it. I didn't even tell my close friends.
You want them to know you
nothing
ruined
to do
wrestling,
with it.
right?
No, it was just the reason why I didn't want them to know is because the way the tape got leaked out, it didn't
Right.
leak out on our terms, and I'll let Jason take over from there.
Yeah, what Manny was saying, yeah, we weren't like patting ourselves on the back, like, yeah, we got the only footage, you know. We had a mutual friend who was a dirt sheet writer that we gave a copy, and we believe it spread like wildfires after that, because he knows people that's in the business, and they know you know, the wrestlers and other people, and so we believe that's how it got out. And when I think we questioned him about it, and he's like, well, you guys weren't the only ones that night recording it, according to him. But he was wrong. So, but anyway, that night, if you go back, there is stock footage of the event that, you know, like for the tag team title match, I believe part of the Razor match in the ring. I've seen it on like a documentary, and I believe when they Sean was walking out to the cage, they recorded, but then they stopped recording. They didn't record the whole match. I mean, it wasn't something that I guess you needed televised. I mean, just think about it. They could have had awesome footage, you know, real great quality, but they didn't. It was just stock footage, I guess, just to show, you know, like I said, for promotional stuff or whatever now for the documentary. But
And Jay, sorry to stop you, but they did do the Warrior and Owen. They, from their footage and our footage, they put it all together.
I did see that.
Do you remember that? Yeah, okay. Just
on there's the DVD,
The Kliq.
No, there was a DVD. I have it somewhere here where they would the untelevised matches. They made a DVD of stuff like that where it was just the matches. There was no commentary. And they released it around that era. And I remember, like Manny said, they did show the Warrior Owen match along with their footage too. It was pretty cool how they kind of edited, you know, like the way that the
it's
match
like they spice it together.
yeah. But in 2015 or 2014, I forget,
14.
WWE posted something on the website about the curtain call, and they interviewed a couple of the superstars, and there was a comment section at the bottom where fans can write whatever, you know, and I wrote a comment with my full name, you know, because I guess at that point I was getting sick and tired of seeing it all over the damn place, because it was in, you know, because they were really pumping out these documentary DVDs and Monday Night War stuff and all this. And I just got tired. I said, hey, this is my video. You know, I shot this. If anybody wants to contact me, please contact me, thinking like they're just going to delete it. They're not going to pay attention to it, whatever. Several months go by, I get a message on my LinkedIn account from a producer from WWE asking me, are you the Jason Cosmides that shot the curtain call? You know, please write me back if you did. And I was like, yeah. And I wrote him back, and he said, all right, you know, he said, call me. So I spoke to him, and at that particular time, because they just came out with the Monday Night War series, and one of them was the Kliq. One of the episodes was the Kliq. So I said to myself, I'm like, well, you know, if that was our chance to, you know, to get credit, I mean, that was it. What else are they going to do? Not knowing that they had a Kliq DVD in the works.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, yeah, we want to interview. And I said, well, you got to interview my partner in crime, Manny. You know, he's the guy you hear on the video. And, you know, he's my good friend. So they said, yeah, absolutely. And so we were both interviewed for the DVD. It would have been nice for us to do it together, but you know, he was fortunate to go up to Stanford at the studios and do it. Mine, they filmed me at a SmackDown event down here. So that's how they interviewed us for that.
I mean, was there any kind of compensation, or were they just like, hey, you know, legally we own the rights to this, or what was that like?
Yeah, I did ask, and I said, hey, can you guys want to fly me up to Connecticut? You know, that would be great. And they said no,
$5 or something.
Yeah, you know? Right. So I knew once they shot me down, I was like, yeah, there's probably not. They're not gonna pay us for anything. I mean, I think I asked the lawyer years ago, before all this got out. I think it was around the time when I saw it on Raw in '97. I'm sure we'll touch on that. And I said, hey, I asked the lawyer, I said, hey, do I have a case here? They're using my video. And the first thing he said to me is, did you record it illegally? Were you supposed to record? And I said, well, no, I wasn't. He said, yeah, I don't think you have a case then.
Well, yeah, they threw you guys in handcuffs,
Yeah.
on Monday Night Raw. What was that experience like? I mean, they bring you guys to Raw. You guys got the Kliq there. Like, I don't even know how I would have acted. That's a big fucking deal. It's Monday Night Raw. They're acknowledging you guys, the anniversary of the event at the time. And they bring, I just watched it again the other day. I remember when it happened. It's like, man, these guys must be fucking freaking out. Like, this is such a cool moment. And, Triple H swerves you and puts you guys in, brings some cops out and handcuffs you and tells you guys to get the hell out of here. Like, it was illegal, like, shouldn't bootleg or whatever. And then he's joking, he brings you guys back in. And Manny, you were still in handcuffs. Yeah. I was like, dude, that's awesome. This guy's fucking still cuffed up and he's doing his thing. What was that experience for you guys like as fans? Because, dude, as a fan myself, that would have just blew my fucking mind.
Because remember, we're actually meeting Triple H and the producers, and that's all we were informed of at 6:30 on Monday night. Even though we got our front row comp, obviously we're there. We still had to go wait in line like the other fans have to. So here they are. They're calling me. It's like 6:45, and I'm talking to them back and forth. I had to actually hang up on the producer just so I can get in. We had an issue with our tickets, and because that's Sting's fault. Because why can't we get in? We have our tickets here, so we're wasting 5 minutes here. We have to go to a different booth. They had to question us about our tickets. The reason why they had to question us about our tickets was that was the night that Sting was returning in a big box where they had to move sections of seats over in the front row, and we had to get screwed and moved over. So it delayed us for a few minutes, and then boom, they come get us. So we're rushing to get down there. We're sweating. We don't know what's going on. And we get there, and I see them out of the corner of our eyes, Hunter, Scott, and
no, but tell them there was a camera. There was, as soon as we were walking, they noticed there was a camera behind us. We were like, I'm like, why is there a camera behind us?
I said, go with it, Jay, go with it. And then we go, and boom.
Let it happen, Jason.
and
push him in the back.
They didn't even record that part until we actually got on the backstage stage where they started recording everything. And it's all a shoot. Nothing was pre-rehearsed, So it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And they lost the keys to my handcuffs for a long time. What you see in the video is 3.5 minutes, but
they edited it.
We're talking for 20 minutes, just for other stuff as well. And boom, I'm still in handcuffs waiting for them to. So
Mandy's like, hey, motherfuckers, can you kindly give me the keys? Shit.
Yeah, I knew it was a shoot. I knew something was up, just knowing how WWE is with their shenanigans. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm like, they're not really gonna arrest us because shit, they have the footage all over the place. If they were that offended and pissed off, they wouldn't use it. They love it, they embrace it. Yeah,
dude. And how cool is that for, like I said, just two fans, man, to go from what you guys did to be on Monday Night Raw, to be, rubbing elbows with them guys and stuff. It's just amazing, dude. It's an amazing story. Now, what was after Raw and everything? Have you guys kept in contact with anybody or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we did the A&E special that just aired last year with Shawn Michaels. So that was another WWE thing. And I'm proud to say that this year we have a good working agreement with WWE. So you'll see something later this year, which we're not allowed to talk about, obviously, but it's been a wild ride with WWE. It was a 2015 boom, the big, and then 2016, and then with 2021 with the A&E documentaries of legend.
So afterwards, were you guys like, hey, like, you guys want to go hang out or what? what the hell was going on, man? Like, you just went back to the show when they filmed that stuff. Was that was obviously before the show aired?
Yeah. Before the show, yeah.
Before the show, yeah. And we were just there to enjoy the show because, at that time, we weren't really that much into the product, but we obviously had to be there. So we tried to make the most of it,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least it was the night that, that was a cool moment when Sting came out of the box. That was pretty cool.
It was, yeah.
So, like, we're talking where the WWE was at then, when you guys filmed it, and then right now where the WWE product is at. I mean, is this something that you guys continue to watch? I mean, what between the both of you, what is, I mean, you're still obviously wrestling fans. I'm really curious to see, because I know where me, Bodie, and Sretton, where our hearts lie, and it's really all over the place. Especially nowadays, because there's just so much great shit. Even like the independents are stacked to the T.
Yes, they're booming. GCW is there, AEW is there.
GCW.
I mean,
so Manny, we'll start with you,
yep.
Brother. What's keeping your interest in professional wrestling, and what are like kind of some of your takeaways? What are some of your favorite moments and things going on in modern day WWE, if you will?
Okay. Do you want to hear the truth, or should I kayfabe it?
No, man, we want the truth. We can handle it.
What's keeping me alive in this wrestling world is the dirt sheets right now. That's it. That's what I look at, honestly.
So you're not watching you're just kind of catching, I mean, I do that a lot with sports, man. I'm a huge Chicago sports fan, but obviously I don't have, I mean, the Bears are god awful. I'm not going to, watch every game. I'd rather just see, all right, what happened during this game and vice versa. So there's nothing really that you're really watching that you're like super stoked on that kind of invokes the childlike feeling that you had.
It's just Rumble, WrestleMania, and the Hall of Fame. That's really it.
Okay. Jason?
No, I'll check in from time to time. I don't follow the product. I don't watch it. I'll read up every now and then. I do have the Peacock network, so I will check in. I do like how they are starting to do the pay-per-views on Saturdays. I think that's really cool. Something
the premium live events.
Yeah. And yeah, when the old guys come back, I'll watch it, yeah, that's really it. Like Manny was saying, Hall of Fame is always cool to watch. The documentaries, I'll watch those. But as far as like the superstars of today, no, I just think unless it changed from the last time that I checked in, that I watched, I just think that the acting is really bad. The interviewing is bad. It's the style that they do it is just so predictable.
Yeah. Would you say
they zoom out and they zoom in, and who's going to be there when they zoom out? Someone's
yeah,
walk
God, Kevin Dunn, that asshole, and his cuts, his weird cuts.
Jump cuts, bouncing cameras.
Yeah. Tell him, Bodie. Tell him.
Watch out for the jib cam. Don't get me started.
Oh, so I mean, I think we could all sit here and agree that it's been rough for a good long while. I think, and I've said it before on this show many a times, I feel like they're more machine than they are heart now. When, we were kids growing up, it seemed like, yeah, were they big and they were booming, but you could feel the passion. Where nowadays it's like you almost watch the product and it's like, man, I feel bad for some of the talents that are really good and are killing it because they're put in ridiculous situations and expected to succeed, and that doesn't happen, and just ridiculous situations in general, stuff that's not entertaining. we try to be as positive as we can, so we don't sit here and like dog on them. But we all as fans, and I think everybody that had grew up on the WWF/WWE product knows what they're capable of. But they're just so, like, in my eyes, my personal opinion, so money hungry and, you know, so stuck on the sentiment that they know what you want and you don't know a good goddamn thing about what you want. And that's what they've been going on for a long time. Like, dude, I was tuning out after like so they purchased WCW and ECW, and the invasion angle was like a big flop and all that. And then that's when like the Batista Cena era came in, and dude, Cena was just like all over, like thrown down your throat, smashed in your face. You didn't want to see Marky Mark become a professional fucking wrestler, but that's what they were feeding you. So I mean, I was tuning out then, and it was heartbreaking because to go from all the good shit we had from them, and not just them, but our beloved ECW and WCW, to now, you know, circa 2004 to, you know, 2006 and onwards and shit. I would watch Raw on Monday nights and still try to capture that magic. Like, hey, everybody, you know, friends, at this time I'm out of high school. I got my own crib. Let's get some beers and some food, you know, whatever else, and watch Monday Night Raw and have a good fucking time. And it just never happened.
Sleep by 7:15.
Yeah, you were always let down. And then it went back to what you were saying earlier, Manny, when, you know, you wore the shirts back in the day and, you know, people were like, what the fuck? You were kind of embarrassed again to be a fan, especially because at that time they monopolized the industry. You know, it wasn't like it was nowadays or is nowadays, where, you know, you brought up GCW. GCW is killing it. You have MLW, you have Impact, TNA. Yeah, they didn't die 20 years. Like, they lasted longer in ECW and WCW. You got
with all their 6 name changes. Yep.
Yeah, you have no shit, right? Global farce wrestling. Sorry, Jeff.
I'm not.
But you know, the NWA is back and featured in a more prominent role than it has been in the last 30 years.
New champion. Yeah, new world champion.
Cardona's
the man, dude.
Absolutely.
So with all that being said, outside of the E, Jason, this time I want to start with you, brother. What is kind of, because I know that shit, and Sren's a great example. When we started this podcast, he was a guy running a podcast network, and I was a huge wrestling mark, and I knew so much about the business. Why? Because I'm sure you guys can relate. We loved it so much that we read all the dirt sheets. Anything we could find, we did it because it fulfilled our passion, you know, for the business and our love. And he was a guy that was out of it. And I'm like, hey, man, I really like pro wrestling and a bunch of like music and horror and all that comedy, all that other shit. Mm-hmm. But my foot in the door would be to do a wrestling show. And, you know, and he went with it. And he was a guy, I wouldn't even say jaded. He maybe at one point, but he was completely tuned out at that time. You know, Sren, you're a guy that grew up on 80s Hulkamania, the golden era, if you will. You know, the NWO. And then after that, there was nothing. And what wrestling, and I've been able to introduce him to, and Bodie's been along he's like much like myself, through the thick and thin of the business. But the awesome thing was, and what I love about this show and having good positive reach, not just here, but on social media, to be able to show other like-minded wrestling fans that, hey, there is more out there. Finally, we've waited 20 years for it not to only be WWE, for our intelligence not to be fucking insulted. And, you know, he started coming back into this and going to, you know, the independents around Chicagoland, which is on fire. Chicago's like the mecca for great independent pro wrestling, not to mention, you know, all the bigger TV companies like to come here too. But Jason, Manny, I'd like to know, what is that for you guys? What's fucking getting you guys?
Not so much. Like I said, I'll read up you know, the websites, what's going on. I do was one of the things that I caught. I mean, I didn't watch it, but I was like, you know, talking about the Forbidden Door being open, you know, recently, and AEW who's going to show up, and I'm like, you were talking about Shane McMahon, maybe, you know, whoever. I was like, okay, that might be cool. That might be cool to watch. You know, I think it's about time that something like that does happen in wrestling. We always We always wanted that to happen back in the day with WCW and WWF, but it never happened. We thought how cool it would have been. So I think in today's world, I mean, we want everyone to be united. I mean, why not have like a real WrestleMania where you have all these different promotions and this big,
like Starrcade was back in the day,
yep. I think that would be really cool. I'd watch something like that. No gimmicks, no angles. Let's just have like, real wrestling matches. And I remember I was watching, I don't know if there was I think it was put on by ECW. It was like a Terry Funk tribute show, and they had both ECW, Bret Hart for it, like Terry Funk, and there was I think a few other ECW guys on the card and WWE guys, and like that stuff would be cool, cool to watch. I mean, maybe to the average fan, it's like, oh, what's the big deal? It's they're just wrestlers, but you don't know like that one of them is with one organization, another one's with another, and it's like they're coming together. I think that would be something pretty cool.
But nobody, as far as like there's no like your Kenny Omegas or your Cody Rhodes or anybody that's really kind of catching your eye and making you like feel like you're a kid again, enjoying the sport.
No, I wish.
Well, me and Jason, every time me and Jason see them, we're like, oh, that's this guy's kid. That's this guy's kid. That's this
Steiner's kid. Yeah,
kid.
Steiner's kid. Yeah.
That's how our conversation goes with those guys. Unfortunately, I know they're good talent. I know they're good talent.
Well, Manny, what about you, man?
Yeah.
I try to keep up with AEW, and WWE, once in a while, whenever they put out some stuff. But that's about it.
Would you say you guys, I mean, are you guys still like the same wrestling fans as far as like passion? Has that kind of dwindled down then, you would say? Or
you know what? The passion has dwindled down. If you asked me this 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I wouldn't. Wrestling was my life. I mean, Every Saturday, every Sunday, every Monday, whatever show was on, you cannot tell me not to watch it. I would miss whatever else was going on to be there, watch those shows, and tape those shows, because that's really all I had in my life, and that's what made me happy. And so it's in my blood. As it's not so much now as far as, but it really is still my life if you really think about it. I mean, even though I don't watch it like crazy now.
That being said, did you guys tune into the Royal Rumble? Because the way I view WWE now is, the big four are the only ones that you generally can sit down and try to choke down and watch, because in reality, they should be good. What were your guys' thoughts on this year's past Royal Rumble?
I did watch it, as much as, WWE's been so great to us, and, they took care of us very well. It was a little hard to watch, and maybe a 4 out of 10, I guess.
Jason,
yeah,
don't be shy now.
Unfortunately, I didn't watch it. I did read about it. Like I said, I knew that Brock won, but he was in the match. He was in a match too, and he lost the match, and then he was in the Rumble, won the Rumble. That would have been cool. I think back in the day, that would have been real cool to watch if we were really engaged in the product. The champion is. I think 1 year what Hogan back in the day was in it as champion, right? But I think that would have been cool to see. A superstar that just lost his title is now in the Rumble and wins the Rumble. So yeah.
I got to ask you guys this as we wind down here. As wrestling fans, wrestling, was and still is. It's mainstream as hell. It's pop culture. There are so many things that involve wrestlers and promotions and yada, yada, yada. I'm gonna fire off a couple quick questions for you guys, and you guys can answer. Whoever wants to go first, doesn't matter. Favorite movie involving a professional wrestler? Go.
Body Slam.
Ooh, Roddy Piper. I have the soundtrack on vinyl. Yeah. Jason, let's go.
Favorite movie involving a wrestler? That would be the Fast and the Furious franchise with The Rock.
Jason, did you say Mr. Nanny or no?
Suburban Commando.
Suburban Commando's my answer.
Immortal Kombat.
Yeah.
What's the one, Hogan? I got a bunch of Hogan's shitty movies on DVD. It's almost like a Spy Kids thing. God, I can't think of what it's
The
called.
Nanny. Or whatever the hell it's
With Fran
called.
Drescher?
Yeah.
Could have said no holds barred. I mean,
There you go. No holds barred.
I have that on Blu-ray.
Thunder
and
in
regular
Paradise.
DVD.
Yeah.
Thunder in Paradise.
Great show. Next
That was a great
question.
show.
I don't know how big a wrestling video game nuts you are. And even if you're not, what is your favorite wrestling video game ever?
WrestleFest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Me and Sretton played that when we were in Texas this past summer.
Texas.
Raw for Sega Genesis.
Wow,
that game was so
Jason,
classic.
that's the worst fucking answer I ever heard in my life. Damn, I'm
It
gonna
was
have
classic.
to fucking draw heat on you, brother. Just joking. That's your opinion. I respect it. And I respect you.
You know what game? I will say this: an honorable mention. Sega CD Rage in the Cage.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
never played that.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
finally able to play that through an emulator, and I didn't realize how easy it was. You didn't even have to beat the wrestler; you just climb out of the cage. I was like, "This ain't fun," especially if you're playing the computer. It's like, you're just down for a second. The guy climbs out of the ring. It's like, what the hell, But it's
And
a cool,
Jason,
it's a cool game. Yeah,
that was the first game where like they actually put the music in and it
Yes.
sounded good.
yeah,
It was like CD quality. It wasn't like generic 16 or 8-bit,
yeah. For that time, yeah, it was
Remember
definitely
the
innovative.
original WrestleMania game?
Oh my God.
Oh,
For Nintendo.
I
Yeah.
loved it because of the cover, the iconic picture of
Yeah.
Hogan, which should be on the back of a quarter or something, or him body slamming Andre, one of the two.
The music playing while you're wrestling.
yeah. DiBiase's music's playing while you're wrestling. two different
Exactly. Dun, 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 dun. The power-ups floating in the ring
Yeah. What the?
while I'm
We
getting
all know what
crushed
those
by Andre.
power-ups were. That
I
was
can't
the
slam
juice.
Andre.
All right, Manny,
Yes.
favorite TV appearance on a TV show by a wrestler? Go.
That's tough.
X-Pac returning on Raw. If that would answer the question, I don't know if that was the right answer.
No, regular TV show, right? Not
Oh.
wrestling show.
I don't watch TV.
There you go.
Okay. Good answer. Jason.
I don't know what.
Don't
Hulk
say
Hogan.
Sting on Walker, Texas Ranger.
Well, that was no. Well, Brett used to be on. Was it not
Walker.
Walker? No,
Texas
it was
Ranger.
the What's that?
Simpsons also.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, he's got a fucking Simpsons action figure.
That's great.
Wasn't Bret Hart on Saturday Night Live once? Beating the
Mad
shit out
TV.
of everybody? Mad TV? Yeah, that's right, Mad TV.
The Rock was on SNL a couple times.
So was it Giant? No?
I think they were all
That
they were all like the
70s
same-
show. There was The Rock, Ken Shamrock, and I think was it Big Show or Triple H? Can't remember. Anyways, we'll move on to the next question. Manny, favorite theme music ever?
Demolition.
Ooh, yeah. Love it.
Rude.
Kick it, Bodie.
Rude.
Here comes the axe. Here comes the smasher. Yes,
You can't forget about the Brood. Brood second, Strike Force third. Yeah.
Sorry, we can't use the real music. They'll fucking sue us.
I mean, I have a whole collection of every theme that's possibly ever made in WWF and WWE. So I'm a big theme guy. So
You always were. Yeah. Yeah.
Jason, what about you?
I would say, without the doubt, the number one song that sticks in my head is the Ultimate Warrior theme song.
Yes. Dun, 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 dun. Speak to me, warriors.
And that song got me hype.
Dude. Oh God, how could it not?
Exactly.
I would think maybe I would venture to say that's probably the best Jim Johnston jam ever written.
yeah, he definitely belongs in the Hall of Fame for everything he's done.
does.
I mean,
Well,
he's
yeah,
a
it's
true
a buddy
masterpiece.
system there, you know. We don't
man.
we need a better Hall of Fame than that. But anyways, I digress. Manny, whether you like toys or you don't like them, what's your favorite wrestling action figure ever?
I'm a Hasbro guy. I'm an LJN guy, so
Yes.
I collected them all. I did like the LJN Demolition. I did like the LJN Hard Foundation, and any Hasbro you could name, I was in love with them.
Oh,
Anything Jacks were cool too. I love the Jacks. Anything after that, I gave up on.
really?
Yep.
Dude, there's been a resurgence in Hasbro's too. You got like Zombie Sailor, who has the original. I can't think of the guy's name, but he's original designer for Hasbro's doing like the Nick Gage figure and the Matt Cardona figure, and there's and King Kong Bundy. Like there's a lot of fucking old school cats that you'll be able to get a spiritual successor to the Hasbro line, which is super awesome. So if you haven't heard of Zombie Sailor, check into that shit. I know he's on Instagram. They got like a badass Sabu figure too, bunch of cool shit. Jason, favorite wrestling action figure? Oh
Ultimate
shit, the
Warrior.
Jax 1996 Ultimate Warrior.
Yes. That's awesome.
But not the Ultimate Warrior where the legs are stuck together like glue.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you can't even wrestle with them.
I know that
You know,
that was the
it's
that
so
Push him
annoying
down, he
when we
flies
push
up.
him down and he pops up.
Those are the ones you hated, like the Marty Jannetty stuck together.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
a hacksaw Jim Dunk where you have 1,000 of them where you don't even want them.
I just saw one the other day, brother. I was at this toy shop and I saw Jim Duggan. I'm showing my 14-year-old son. I was like, man, I had this guy when I was a kid. And then up top, which I thought was really cool because I have the Young Bucks LJNs, but LJN is doing that. They're doing the inserts now in the AEW figure line where they have a LJN of Cody, and it's in the AEW package, but it's straight like LJN official on there. It comes with a big fold-out poster, and
That's
it's
cool.
the style of LJN, man. Like, come on, you come straight from my heart and my wallet, motherfuckers, you know?
Yeah, sure.
But the Hasbro Ultimate Warrior, the second one, was the best, where he's, you know, his hands, and he actually has
With the
his
hands.
legs apart. Yeah, that was the best. And
Just tossing people around.
keeping with that toy theme real quick, I don't, you know, you guys had to have had them. What was your favorite wrestling buddy, and do you guys still own any?
I
never had one.
No, and I don't think I ever had one.
Wait, were you too old for it? I mean, dude, I'm fucking 39. I still got like 6 of them. I'll go with them right now. Dare me.
Still finding them.
Yeah, it's weird. I collected everything. I mean, the figures. I collected the music. I collected the tapes, obviously.
The magazines. We got tons of magazines.
The magazines. Oh,
Ridiculous.
hundreds.
Really old
PWI,
PWIs and
the
the
Wrestler, Black and White,
The Raw
obviously,
magazine.
WWE, Raw, all that stuff, and we never had a wrestling buddy for some reason.
I don't get it.
You guys aren't you're just not as snuggly as Wallace.
If you guys are here right now, I'll fucking give you a hug. I don't care. All right. We're winding down. We're getting to the final moments of this episode. Who inspired you the most to be a wrestling fan? Who is your number one guy that just no matter what they say or do, they do it for you.
Without a doubt, Hogan. I mean, that was the reason that when I was, I don't know, 10, when I tuned in to Superstars and I saw Hogan and Andre, that larger than life person, I was hooked after that. You know,
I think we can all collectively agree, but I will not make that official until Manny tells me who his is.
I guess I would say the whole 87, 88 roster is what drew me in. I love the bad guys. I love the good guys. Even
Love
at
that
time.
answer.
And but if I had to wind it down, you know, I have to go with Savage and Demolition and the Shrike Force. I mean, those are the guys that drew me in.
Hell yeah. Shout out to Tito Santana, another former guest of the show. Everybody go back and check that episode out because he was fucking great to talk to. Strike Force, yeah. And Stretton does one hell of a Rick Martel. Stretton.
Yeah, he does.
What do you want from me?
What do you want from me?
I'm not a dancing monkey.
I beg to disagree. All right. So going forward, what do you guys got going on? If anything, you know, wrestling wise in your life, whatever that you want to promote and get out there, now's the time to do it and let everybody know, you know, hey, Jason, Manny, this is what's up. This is all the fans need to pay attention to. You guys mentioned earlier, you alluded to, you know, there's something in the works with the E, but you can't quite mention it. Besides that, ooh, the old Scott Hall, remember? I used to love when he'd do that, and he'd paintbrush motherfuckers. That was like best heel shit ever. What do you guys got going on in your lives? And what's good?
Well, we got a couple things going on for this year. 2 things actually, but obviously we can't really go into detail with those. But you know, if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, I get fans on Facebook, Instagram. They always message me of just random things, and I'll always answer them. It's just nice to hear from other fans as well. Hey, you guys did this. You guys created the Attitude Era. You guys created Steve Austin Era. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? I'm like thinking, I don't even know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything like that. I never thought about it like that, how they perceive it. I just thought we created something cool. When they started years ago, when they started saying, oh, we did this, we started this era, this, that. Not really. I mean, if they want to say that, that's cool too. I'm on Instagram. I keep active on there as WWE Curtain Call Kid. You know, it's always fun to keep up with the fans and all that stuff. And we got the couple of things coming up with big promotions coming up this year. So definitely keep a lookout for that.
What about you, Jason?
Yeah, no, like kind of what Manny was saying, you know, stay tuned. We have a few things in the works. Also, you know, what like Manny was saying, a lot of the comments that we hear, just a lot of misperceptions, you know, that we're the reason why Stone Cold won the King of the Ring and Triple H get. No, it's just ridiculous to hear that, because the tape May 19th happened like a few weeks before King of the Ring. The tape didn't go viral until a year later, because through tape traders, there was no internet like there was today. We couldn't just upload it and TMZ got it and it's all over the place. It wasn't like that at all. And we just captured a moment. We didn't really do it, you know. We're not the performers, you know. But you know, it's just a lot of people think we're rich, we're millionaires, you know. It's crazy, this some of the stuff that we hear. I could just understand why people would just think that, you know, hey, we recorded something real special, and you know. But I think nowadays it'd be a little different because there's more outlets to, like I said, like a TMZ. But then again, everybody has a video on their phone, so everybody's a bootlegger now, you know.
Yep.
Everybody is.
Everybody's a fucking moonshiner.
Yeah.
Take a sip.
You know,
you guys want to see I'm sorry, Jason. I was going to ask them if they wanted to see the original Kurt Cole video.
Show it.
Yeah.
VHS and
Yes.
VHS-C. I sleep with it every
bless
night.
me.
I can't, I can't afford someone steal it. So
Right?
here we go.
Put it under the
Boom,
pillow.
Boom, boom.
Put it under the pillow with a shotgun. Oh,
Oh
shit.
my God. Nice.
That's the original VHS-C, and then this is right into the VHS.
That's amazing.
And it's got the original WWF stickers and logos from the
Yes.
tour.
I got Manny hooked on that stuff when it's like
Yeah.
I say, hey, why don't you make like labels for your tapes? Let's just
Yes.
copy the
That's
world
badass.
tour de force. And
And obviously, I had to take the tab off so it wouldn't be recorded over.
yep.
Yep. Got
'cause it's the real deal. And
Accidentally hit
I think I
record.
played this tape. Yeah, I played this tape probably like 3 times because every time you play it, you don't want the degeneration, the value to go up. It's like I don't want to ruin it on any VHS player now. It'll just
Get eaten up, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The
Well, that's-
gears would
and that's-
grind.
Absolutely.
A good, I guess, final question, send off question for you gentlemen. With that vast library that you have, are you in the process or have you thought about like digitizing any of this stuff?
I have, and a lot of people have advised me to do. I just don't have the time. I like it in the original format in that way because
Right.
it looks larger than life when you see it like that. Instead of seeing it on a USB stick or CDs here and there, it's not going to look as great as the original because, it's all unedited. It's not Peacock Network. All the original music is there. All the commercials are there from everything I recorded. Yeah, so I'm going to keep it that way, probably.
Hell yeah. I
Love it.
Dude, I fucking love it. We
Gotcha.
all grew up in the era. We
Hell
fucking
yeah.
love it. We fucking love you guys. Thank you for coming on and sharing your stories with us because I was super stoked about this episode and be able to bring you guys on and to be able to talk WWE, which we haven't been able to do much a lot lately because there ain't just too much going on. Sorry. It is what it is.
No, it's been fun. Trust me. You guys have been great.
Yeah.
Hell
Thank you
yeah.
for having
I
us.
love you guys.
Thank you guys so fucking much. And thank you everybody for watching right now. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Share this episode with like-minded people. If you're listening right now on any podcasting platform, make sure you rate and review. Hit us up, prowrestlingtees.com, JPW Tees. We got some shirts. Look at those shirts. One more time. Buy the shirt. What they used to say back in the day, you don't buy the shirt. Come on, Bodie, bring it. Bring it.
Hey, yo, buy the shirt.
That's right. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and sometimes TikTok. So I hate that. It makes me feel like a piece of shit when I'm on TikTok. I don't know why, but maybe 'cause
You
it's just
are
such
a piece of shit.
You better watch your mouth, boy. You want to get fucked? I'll smack you up. What's that Prodigy song? I'm sure you know. You're about to find out. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to new Handsome Prick covers EP out right now. Go on Bandcamp, handsomeprick.bandcamp.com. We're covering Devo, Black Oak, Arkansas, 7 Seconds, and much, much more. If you're fans of old school punk rock, you'll fucking dig it because it's really good. It's really brutal, really fast. And also make sure you follow us on Bands in Town because the end of February, we got like a little weekend mini tour we're going to be doing. And we're also going to be playing with Doyle from the Misfits on March 11th. So make sure you guys check all that out. Handsome Prick, Juice Pro Wrestling, and Jason and Maddie, you guys fucking rule. Thank you guys once again for coming on. We fucking love you guys for what you did. Thank you guys for somewhat not really killing the business. Much love and respect to you. And until next time, wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up. Oh my God, it's so wet for the curtain call, kids. You don't know what to do about it, do you?
Oh my God, it's so slippery.
You gonna do sex to me? Did you like that video? If so, be sure to hit like and subscribe and check out more killer content from your boys at Juice Pro Wrestling. Whoa, yeah!